Putting pen to paper with a mind in a state of translucency challenges my strongest extremities. My nostalgia laced with an unknowing sadistic fog, a fog of which I know so dearly and yet have so much fear and hatred for. Memories isolated from my conscious mind, kept in a chasm deep within my unconscious. The rock that I am fissured and conglomerated. These hollows filled with the unwanted recollections that are so ironically wanted and needed, then to be repressed for my own supposed good. Offered help by those who have learnt, not experienced. Told things will ameliorate. Retrieving what's lost from a bottomless void is not only daunting but also unfeasible. But to give up would be to fail, and so we continue to attempt.
Okay, so I've had depersonalisation for 9 years. It makes me feel dizzy. It's very confusing. It's almost like everything is in 2 dimensions. Like it's like living in a dream. Feels like I'm detached from my own limbs. Like I'm living in someone else's body.
A lot of people that suffer from depersonalization, derealization, a lot of them, they had a triggering point. For some people, it's a medication. It can be blood pressure medication, antidepressants. They're called, what do they call those when you have paradoxical reactions to these things? Weed, big one right there. A lot of people smoke weed, have a panic attack, and they get stuck in this derealized, depersonalized state. So I went from being, well, I, like anyone, had issues, but I went from being completely functional, never suicidal, never depersonalized, to full-blown, horrible depersonalization, derealization. Now, I didn't know what it was when I had it. I didn't know what was going on, but I thought that I was absolutely losing my mind. The one thing I can say that would try to make you understand what it felt like to be severely depersonalized and derealized is that the world around me suddenly did not feel like real.
I didn't notice a change in Freya at first because I didn't know that she had depersonalisation. But thinking about it, it's quite obvious that she had changed from being very bubbly and like hyperactive to suddenly being very angry and very careless about herself and other people around her. Not all the time, but like at certain times it would just be very, very obvious and quite difficult to deal with for her as well. But I remember there was a point, like maybe a year ago, where she just like wouldn't even respond to being asked a question because she just really either didn't know where she was or just was exhausted from whatever was going on in her head.
I've definitely found that this disorder has stopped me from doing a lot of things, as it's also related to anxiety, so things like festivals, concerts, going out in big places I tend to avoid. Definitely I enjoy a lot of things less, because the key symptom, I suppose, of this is that it numbs all your senses along with emotions, so no, I can't really get real enjoyment or any emotion from it, so it's definitely affected me like that. But since I've had it for so long, it's almost like I know no different.
I think the way I found out about Freya's depersonalisation was that she didn't sit me down and tell me or anything like that. I think it was when I was actually in college and I was doing some research on mental health because it's something I'm really passionate about. And I think we were just talking about what I was discussing, and she explained to me that she just discovered something, like she'd been doing research or whatever, and she had found this thing called depersonalisation, and I'd actually seen it come up on one of the mental health websites about a known mental health illness. And I remember we just had a really long discussion about it, and she was trying to explain like what it was, because it's very, very hard to explain, and I was just trying to understand it, and I did some research myself and understood it a bit more and just kept asking questions, and I think that was just from then. It was just that I just knew.
I first started getting treatment for depersonalisation in year 11, and I started by visiting. I had a conversation with my mum and my sister about it, and because at this point I hadn't discovered the term, I just went to see the school counsellor about sort of anxiety, weird feelings, and then I explained it to her, and she didn't understand what I was explaining because neither of us had heard of depersonalisation before. And then I found the term. I was researching and I found it, went back and told her, and we spoke about that. She didn't know very much about it, and then I was speaking to my mum about it a few months later when I was finishing secondary school, and made a doctor's appointment to go and talk to her about it, who she then referred me to PCAMS, which wasn't very helpful. I went to that for about half a year, I think, and at the end she decided to refer me on to CAMS, the Children and Adult Mental Health Services, which I've been going to for about, must be about half a year, maybe 7, 8, 9 months.
We just argued all the time, and she'd argue with my mum especially, which was very hard to not step in. And there was a point a couple of years ago where I didn't feel like we got on well at all because I couldn't deal with her anger. But when she told me that she had depersonalisation and explained it all, I think it actually helped it, because I understood why, and also what she was going through, that she wasn't just being angry, like she wasn't just being rude or anything like that. It was actually like a psychological issue. So I think actually it's made our relationship better now that I know. I strongly believe that in the future Freya will have recovered from it, or it will be a lot better than it has been or is now. I mean, I think because of the way she's now, obviously she's at college and she's working towards her future, and I know with depersonalisation now it's very, very difficult for her to care. So I think in that way, the fact that she doesn't care now about much, it seems, might actually affect her future. However, I think in the future Freya will be absolutely fine, and she'll look back on it and she'll be better. And maybe there'll still be like glimpses of it there, but I don't think she's going to fail or whatever she does, or won't be able to do anything. No, I think she'll be absolutely fine.